All right, so we're continuing the third class on Torah Therapy, try to understand better why we are sick and how to heal from the Jewish perspective. And it's today the 5th of Av, which is the yahrzeit of the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzhak Luria Ashkenazi. And therefore I want to focus on what he said, as told by Rabbi Chaim Vital in his book Sharei Kedusha. It's in the first chapter, first gate, where he starts speaking that really what we understand is that the human being is not his body. His body is just a garment, but the nefesh hasichlit, the higher soul that is in him, his thinking soul, is really his true identity. So it continues that as the tailor cuts the clothes according to the shape and size of the human body, God forms the human goof, which is the garment of the nefesh, of the soul, according to the mold and shape of the soul, of the nefesh. He created 248 organs and 365 sinews or tendons, which connects the organs and transfer blood and vitality from one organ to another, like a perfect structure all attached. After that, he created the goof, the body. He breathed the breath of life into it, and into its 248 organs and 365 sinews. The 248 organs, as we understand, correspond to 248 positive commandments and 365 negative commandments, right? And we'll explain later a bit what's the connection. So the 248 organs and 365 sinews of the soul, which are dressed into the 248 organs and 365 sinews of the goof, body, manipulate the latter as the quarryman manipulates the axe. The goof's organs, the body's organs, functions only as long as the soul is present in them. For example, the eye sees and the ear hears, but when the nefesh leaves, when your soul starts leaving the body, the eyes grow dim and all the senses of the 248 organs are abolished. So we see here already that the more I have the presence of my soul in me, the more all my organs function properly. The more my soul is detached from my body, the more my body loses the capacity to use all its organs. This is very important because this helps us understand why sometimes, especially in mental health, especially with Down syndrome, the soul is almost in a pending mode. It's not completely attached to the body, and that's why we're gonna have certain individuals or Down syndrome or someone on the spectrum that are gonna have incredible abilities that appear not physically humanly possible, because their soul really is less attached to the body, is more attached to the spiritual, and therefore they're gonna have an ability to connect to those higher parts of himself. But since it's not fully connected to the body, therefore the body is lacking the regular day-to-day abilities that someone has when the soul is completely attached to the body fully. So he helps us understand that when we look at the body, we look at how we think and how we behave and how we feel and how the body is, his body abilities on a more physical and even emotional level. We understand that it's going to be a consequence, it's going to be a hint of what's happening inside of us and the soul, of the soul's connection. So the 365 spiritual sinews of the nefesh, of the soul, are dressed in the 365 sinews of the goof. They draw the physical food, which is the food, to the 248 organs of the body, and with it they draw the spiritual food to the 248 organs of the soul. So right, so this is the importance of, first of all, eating. When we say eating kosher, eating healthy, eating in a way that makes us understand that my soul feeds my body, but it's a type of food, right? So just it shows us the importance of eating healthy and also spiritually healthy, to have mental health also, and have all one's organs function properly. So we are speaking about spiritual food, but it's also the same with physical food. And the sinews of the body, and after death, no vitality is apparent. And the sinews of the goof decompose, decay, and vanish as the 248 organs of the goof. Therefore, we can conclude that the human being is actually the nefesh sichlit, the thinking soul, while the goof and it is its garment in this world. Okay, it's a bit of an introduction. You should know that after Adam sinned and ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, his body and soul were united, and each of them held good and evil. This is the impurity that the snake passed on to Eve and Adam and Eve. The evil and impurity they inherited from the snake caused diseases, plagues, and death to their body and to their soul, as it is written, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall die. Body and soul. So we see that already he's telling you that if not for the venom of the snake, whatever that venom means, but we're talking about here's two things, evil and impurity. They came from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That evil that went into us is what causes those disease and plagues and death, which helps us understand that there is something in us that needs to be removed to be healthy, which makes us understand that if my character traits are refined and I get rid of the way I think that is negative, in the way I feel that is negative, in my physical behavior that is negative, I am not just becoming a better person, I'm removing this venom from the snake that was put into me, which causes me to be sick and unhealthy. So the more I work on myself, the more I work on my soul, the more I work on my character traits, and I do the commandments properly to feed myself properly, those commandments actually heal me. Though if I do the commandments properly, obviously. Why? Because those commandments are connected to the soul, and if the soul is stronger and more pure, and I don't do transgressions, meaning I don't allow the negativity to spread through me and therefore through my body and organs, therefore I'm removing any type of illness or anything that causes the illness. So that's very important to understand, because that's really what we're talking about from the Jewish perspective. You want to heal. It's as if to say, well, you have 613 commandments that enables your body and soul to be healthy. Okay, so it's as if to say that my mitzvahs are the commandments that God gave. It's not just commandments. Those commandments that God gave are the health. Those are 613 tools to stay healthy, to stay alive, to be happy. It's not just commandments to do. But if I fail in doing those 613 commandments, I'm the consequence are gonna be that I'm gonna be sick. And that's why we hear stories that appear to be miracle of people doing certain commandments and healing just because they're doing commandments the proper way, obviously. Now, what do I mean by doing the commandments the proper way? It means doing the commandments in a way that I understand how this commandment removes the negativity in me. When I put on tefillin, right, I learning to remove my natural animalistic temptation that are negative for me, and I learn to focus on what's really important and good for me and my soul in life. So that's an example. When a woman puts on the candles, or I'll take this example, right, then she can learn to infuse herself with the light of Hashem, the light of the spiritual world, the light of Shabbos, of what Shabbos represents, which is being filled with love, with gratitude, with teshuvah, and all these. So we are doing those mitzvahs, and those mitzvahs heal us. And we know every mitzvah corresponds to a part of the body, like we just said before. 248 organs for the 248 positive commandments, and 365 sinews or tendons, or veins, different ways people explain it, translate it, for the 365 negative commandments. So that's already a map of how we can be in this world and be healthy. As if to say that the Torah, the book of the Torah, is a book of healing, is a book of how to be in perfect harmony with the world, with nature. So when I learn Torah, when I learn the mitzvahs, I can learn to be healthy, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So that is why sometimes we know some rabbis are going to know which commandments correspond to which part of the body. And we have a famous book, Sefer Haredim, is one of the most famous about it. There's other books also. They say these commandments correspond to this part of the body. And therefore, if you are in pain with this part of the body, you can heal it with these commandments, because that's the root of it. So therefore, I will be able to heal. So he continues a little bit. I will explain the issue of good and evil later on. Okay. Now, we learned that the human body is made of the 4 lower elements that contain good and evil. The body is made of the good of the 4 elements. The 4 elements, which is fire, wind, water, and earth. Whereas 4 gals, 4 colors, which is the white, the black, the red, and the green, are made of the evil of these elements. So usually when you have those things, those colorful thing in your body, those are a sign usually of sickness. Not always, but overall, like the pus is white and black dots on the body, or reddish thing, or green. We know when we look sick, green. So all those are a reflection of the negative part of the 4 elements, negative colors of the 4 elements. So they're rooted from those 4 elements. And when the evil parts grow stronger than the good parts, the goof, the body, is infected with diseases and plagues. And if the evil grows even stronger, the human body might die. So, which means that those 4 elements, which we're going to see soon, he says those 4 elements are connected to the 4 root of all evil inclination. They are part of me, meaning that they correspond to the world, we're a microcosm of the world, to nature. So we try, that's why people then go into meditation. Sometimes they go to certain environment, certain place where there's fire, or sometimes wind, sometimes water, sometimes earth. They are here to infuse us with what we need. But what's happening is that those, if they, like you said, like if those negative elements become stronger than our good elements, right? So we all have some kind of evil in us, evil inclination. But if I don't work on myself, then if I don't purify those elements, those 4 elements, they are going to take over, and only the destructive part of those elements are going to be left, and I'm going to become sick. We already know that good and evil were mixed in all the worlds, and therefore also in the human soul. For the soul was cut from the 4 spiritual elements. The 4 letters of the name of Hashem, from which all the upper creatures were made, as it is written, come from the 4 winds of breath. This is the good side of the soul, whereas the evil side of the soul, which is called a wicked man, Rasha, includes 4 types of injuries and 4 types of plagues, which are the 4 evil elements. So these 4 evil elements are the origin of the evil soul, evil nefesh, which is also known as the old Adam. And when this soul, it's like we have a good soul and a bad soul, right? Where you have the good soul, and then around it is that's almost like that split personality, that good side of me and the negative side of me. When this soul grows stronger than the good soul, so like my good in the way I think and my emotions are more negative than positive, then the human soul is infected with injuries and disease, and if the evil grows even stronger, the nefesh dies. So we see that we have whatever happens to this, it's not just the body. There's a type of, like the mental health is the mind, and there's the body and the soul and the body, and in the soul is the positive and the negative, and that the negative spiritual part of us can literally choke us and destroy the positive soul in us, just like in the body, the negative part of the body can, of the 4 elements, can destroy the positive parts of the 4 elements. The pure soul, which is called the fruit, is made of 613 organs and sinews that were the 613 organs and sinews of the impure soul, which is called the klipa of the fruit. So your soul is like a fruit, and then whatever the shell of the fruit, the skin, whatever is called the klipa, that's same thing. It's like when we see a fruit, it's in a way it's here to protect the fruit, but it can also destroy the fruit if the fruit inside is choked and the klipa takes over, so to speak. As I think the shell destroy the inside. So the 2 souls were the 613 organs and sinews of the body. Thus the organs of the pure soul are inside the organs of the evil soul, and the organs of the evil soul are inside the organs of the guf. So it's like these 3 layers. Each of these 2 souls requires spiritual food in order to exist, and indeed they receive spiritual food from the holy soul. They receive spiritual food by fulfilling the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah, like we were saying before. So the same way we need to eat with our body, while we feed our body healthy thing, I need to feed my soul, the pure part of me, the pure food. And if I don't, which are the 613 commandments, and if I don't, then my the part of the soul that is not good, the klipa, the shell, is gonna take over the good part of the soul, the pure part of the soul, is shrink it, so to speak. So again, they receive spiritual food by fulfilling the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah, which resemble the 613 organs of the goof, and are called bread. As it is written, "Come, eat of my bread." Each of the 248 organs is fed by a private mitzvah, like we said before, which relate to this specific organ. Therefore, when a man neglects to perform one of the commandments, one of the mitzvahs, the flow of food to the organ that relates to this specific mitzvah will cease. So if I stop to do a commandment, they say there's one commandment I don't do, then this part of the body, according to that commandment, might get infected, because it doesn't receive the energy, the nutrients it needs. All the food is drawn from the 4 letters of the name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, as it is written, and you preservest them all. And all the mitzvahs depend on it. As our sage of Mary said, Ka, with Shmi is 365, and Vav Hei, Yud Kei with Shmi is 365, and Vav Hei with Zechei 248. The numerical equivalent of the first part of the name of God, Yud Kei, which is 15, and the word my name, Shemi, is 365, as the number of the sinews of the human goof, and the number of the negative mitzvahs, while the numerical equivalent of the second part of the name of God, Vav Hei, and the word for memory is 248, as the number of the organs of the human goof, and the number of the positive mitzvahs. So it's just showing how the name of Hashem and the 4 roots are directly connected to the 613 commandments, and therefore we need to do those commandments to stay healthy. Now you're going to tell me what happened to people who don't do the commandments. First of all, we know that the commandments are here to refine us. So although we have until the day we die to do all 613 commandments, technically some of the commandments we sometimes do without realizing it. Now, this is in Judaism not called doing a commandments. However, we might not get sick right away, or we might have fixed it in a previous life. There are many reasons why that part of the body might not get sick, but sometimes it doesn't get sick, even though we don't outwardly do that specific commandment or ritual. We know Abraham was doing the 613 commandments, but he didn't have tefillin, he didn't have, a lot of the things, the lulav and esrog. So how, meaning he lived a life that was doing the same thing that the 613 commandments, and that gave life to his body so as not to get sick. So sometimes that's what happened to us, but we have to do always the 613, because we don't know which part of our soul has been completed and fixed, so we have to do always everything. Okay. All right, so he continues, but I don't want to go too much into, I want to focus more on the mental health and therapy. So here it's telling us something pretty powerful, if you think of it, that the 613 commandments are a form of therapy, so to speak. Meaning that if I do the 613 commandments properly, I can learn from the commandments themselves what it is that I need to heal from my trauma. Meaning that everything negative that happens into my life, any darkness, any injuries, are all here to be healed, so to speak. And the 613 commandments have, each one has a lesson, has an energy, has a power, spiritual and physical. But more important, it has a lesson, it has a teaching, it has a skill. It's like a skill, 613 skills to heal myself. They are the medicine. They teach us how to react, how to feel about myself, how to feel about other people, how to regulate my emotion, what am I supposed to think and how I'm supposed to feel regarding every situation, so that I can literally connect myself to the most positive part of myself, to my soul, to Hashem. When I do that, and when I do the 613 commands properly, I am filled with love, I am filled with mercy, I'm filled with compassion, I'm filled with forgiveness, I'm filled with inner peace, I'm filled with love and positivity. And therefore, I will not get sick. So it's important to understand that this is how it works. Connected to that, that's why I want to bring what the Arizal says. When the man carries out the positive mitzvos, the spiritual food has the force to flow through the tubes, which are the 365 sinews of the soul, and revive its 248 organs. And when he neglects one of the mitzvahs, the specific tube of this transgression is sealed by the impurity of the shell, and when the tube dries, so does the organ, although it is not removed completely. So our arteries, so to speak, our spiritual artery, are blocked, and the flow of spirituality, what enables my limb, what enables my hand to get energy, to be healthy, is the commandment, the lesson, the teaching that gives energy to it. But if I don't do it, then my hand is missing a certain level of energy, a certain level of goodness. So now sometimes we don't see something, even though I'm not doing command, like you said, it's not removed completely. Even if the tube dries, there's some little vitality that allows me to be, but it's almost dead. Thus, whoever neglects one of the positive mitzvot, and that's what he was saying before, the weakened, even when they're physically alive, are called spiritually dead. So you have a body, and the body looks almost healthy and kind of alive, but really it's dead, because it's only given a little bit of the spirituality of the soul to be able to survive, but he can die or be sick very, very quickly. Is much more weak. Thus, whoever neglects one of the positive mitzvahs is maimed. Therefore, one should try as hard as he can to carry out the entire 613 mitzvahs. And whenever he carries out the positive mitzvah, he should aim to the removal of the impure shell from the specific organ of his soul to which the mitzvah is related. Thus, when the impurity is removed, the holiness of the mitzvah returns, as it is written, and whose iniquities are upon their bones. For when one rises, the other falls. In addition, meaning when you have the good part coming, then the negative part of the soul disappears, and the goof can be healthy. In addition, when a man refrains from transgressing a specific mitzvah, he removes the impurity from the specific sinew of the nefesh, to which this transgression is related. Thus, the spiritual abundance continues to flow through the spiritual tube, turning his soul into a chair and a merkava to his holiness of Hashem. Of this, it is written that the patriarchs themselves are the merkava. Okay, on top of that, he says a little bit after on the second gate that the 613 mitzvahs are really dependent on the character traits that we have. This is the foundation, meaning we have a basic foundation of good character traits and negative character traits also. But the 613 mitzvot are only going to work fully depending on my character traits. Meaning that if I have bad character traits, meaning I don't work on my character traits at all, I'm not careful to a minimum on my character traits, even if I do the 613 commandments, it's not going to work. Because it's like it doesn't enable the goodness of my soul to flow into my body. It's blocked by the negative character trait of the negative soul, the klipa, the shell. It's as if there's a barrier between the body and the soul, the pure soul. So the negative character traits are in between. If I don't clean a little bit these negative character traits, then the source of energy of my soul cannot go into the body, and the 613 mitzvot cannot really affect my body to heal, so to speak. So that's why he says one has to be that he explains that therefore a person needs to be more careful regarding evil character traits than in fulfilling the positive or negative mitzvahs. For once a person attains good character traits, he can easily fulfill all of the mitzvahs. The mitzvahs are just an extension of those good character traits. But if at the beginning, at the source, at the foundation, I don't have that goodness, that positivity, that purity, it's not going to work, and I'm going to get sick. So that's why he says, when in order for a person to be close to God, it only the mitzvahs of the Torah are not mentioned usually by the sages, but only the good character traits. Remember these words, and you will undoubtedly succeed. So okay, and just for the sake of knowing, the four root of all evil character traits are the four elements: earth, water, wind, and fire. Earth is the source of sadness and all its particular: depression, laziness, idleness. Then water is the source of lust and enjoyment of physical pleasure, especially a destructive one. For water is the source of all types of delights. It is the source of two bad character traits: the desire to steal the property of the wife of a friend and take pleasure in them, and the envy of a friend who possesses great property and the desire to take pleasure in it. The element of wind, third element, is the source of idle talk. We're talking is the breath, a talk about worthless things to the spirit and to the goof. It is the source of four bad character traits: flattery, lies, slander, and boasting. And finally, the worst of all four elements is fire. Fire is the lightest of the highest element. It is the source of haughtiness, which is called vulgarity. It includes anger, for a haughty man becomes angry when his wish is ignored. For a humble man knows his faults and does not get angry. Therefore, we can conclude that haughtiness and anger are the same character trait. This character trait is the origin of all the three traits: an ill-tempered mind, which is the outcome of haughtiness and as anger, the desire for power and honor, and the hate towards a person who is more elevated than he is. So that's the four root of all evil character traits that we need to clean. And the 613 mitzvahs will allow us to heal those four negative character traits. So how do we fight those? The four root basic, the roots of the positive elements, of the 4 elements of character traits is, so earth is joy, happiness, water is to the control, the self-control of one's desire, directing one's desire properly. The wind is silence, being quiet, only talking when necessary, silence and quiet. And fire is humility. So with this, we have an idea that if I'm careful with those 4 roots, I will have enough energy. If I work on those 4 roots, I have enough energy for my soul to go and to reduce the klipa that prevents my soul energy, my spirituality, to go into my body and to keep it healthy. And by doing the 613 mitzvahs with those, the foundation of good character traits, like those 4 roots especially, it enables me to have a healthy soul, a strong spiritual soul, a very thin klipa only, and a healthy body, so as not to get sick. It will give even more and more energy so that I don't become sick. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should all be able to always be healthy. And now we know the opinion of the Arizal and Raichan Vital, or the secret how to stay healthy and heal, which is through working on character traits and doing the mitzvahs properly.